My name is Ava Carter. I'm 23 years old. And 4 years ago, my mother looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You are dead to this family." Then she opened the front door and threw a black trash bag at my feet. Inside it, a few shirts, a pair of jeans, my toothbrush. That was it. I stood there crying while rain poured down the driveway. And behind my mother, my younger brother Tyler was smiling. Smiling. I remember staring at him thinking, how can somebody enjoy this? How can somebody watch their own sister get thrown out into the street and smile? But the worst part wasn't the rain, or the screaming, or even losing my family. The worst part was that I still didn't fully understand what I had done wrong. But 4 years later, at exactly 2:14 in the morning, my phone rang. And when I saw Mom on the screen, my entire body froze. Because the woman who told me never to come back was suddenly begging me for help. And when I finally found out why she called me after all those years, I realized karma had taken its time. But it had arrived perfectly. Before I tell you what happened, subscribe if you love emotional revenge stories like this. And tell me where you're watching from. Because this story still feels unreal even now. Now let me take you back to the night my family erased me. I grew up in a house where love always had conditions. Especially for me. My younger brother Tyler was the favorite. Everybody knew it. Relatives joked about it during holidays. Neighbors noticed it. Even teachers noticed it. Tyler got everything. New shoes, Tyler got them first. Expensive gaming console, Tyler got it for Christmas. Car at 16. My mom bought him a black Mustang. When I turned 16, she handed me a city bus schedule. Then smiled and said, "It builds character." That phrase haunted my childhood. Everything painful for me was supposed to build character. Meanwhile, Tyler got rewarded for breathing. At first I tried convincing myself it wasn't intentional. Maybe moms just loved sons differently. Maybe if I got better grades, worked harder, stayed quieter, she'd finally love me the same way. But she never did. And after my dad died, things got even worse. I was 15 when we lost him. Heart attack. Completely unexpected. One minute he was making pancakes in the kitchen. The next minute he was gone. And my mother changed after that. It was like grief hollowed her out. Especially when she looked at me. Because I looked exactly like my father. Same eyes, same smile, same voice. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at me with this strange expression. Not love. Pain. Like my face reminded her of everything she lost. And eventually, that pain turned into resentment. The first time she slapped me, I was 16. Tyler had crashed his Mustang into a mailbox while drunk. But somehow, it became my fault. "You distract him," my mother screamed. I remember standing in the kitchen completely stunned while Tyler hid behind her pretending to cry. Then suddenly, smack. My cheek burned instantly. The room went silent. And my mother pointed at me like I was disgusting. "You ruin everything." That sentence stayed in my head for years. Because after hearing something enough times, you start believing it. By 19, I was basically raising myself. I worked at a grocery store after classes, paid my own phone bill, bought my own clothes. Meanwhile, Tyler partied every weekend like he was the king of the world. One night he punched a hole through our hallway wall after losing a poker game. My mom blamed stress. A week later I forgot to take chicken out of the freezer before leaving for work. And she ignored me for 3 straight days. That house felt like a war zone. You never knew what would trigger an explosion. Then came the night that destroyed everything. And honestly, sometimes I still replay it in my head wondering if I could have changed anything. I had just gotten home from work around midnight. The kitchen light was on. My mom sat at the table with her arms crossed. Tyler sat beside her, smirking. That should have warned me immediately. "Ava," my mom said softly. That tone terrified me more than yelling ever did. Then Tyler lifted something into the air. A gold bracelet. My grandmother's bracelet. The one my mom kept locked inside her bedroom drawer. I found this in Ava's backpack, Tyler said. My stomach dropped instantly. What? I saw her take it yesterday, he added. I couldn't process what was happening. Because I had never touched that bracelet. Not once. My mom stood slowly. You stole from me? No. Mom, I swear. Don't lie to me. She slammed her hand against the table so hard I jumped. Tyler looked down, pretending to be hurt. I didn't want to tell you, he whispered. That performance deserved an award. And suddenly, everything clicked. 3 days earlier I caught Tyler stealing cash from my mother's purse. I threatened to expose him if he did it again. This was revenge. Mom, he planted it. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. That cold laugh still gives me chills. You're unbelievable. Then she walked upstairs. A few seconds later she came back holding a black trash bag. And threw it at my feet. You are poison to this family. I immediately started crying. Mom, please. No. Her voice cracked with rage. You're dead to us. Then she opened the front door. Rain hammered the driveway outside. And I remember standing there frozen because part of me still believed she'd stop me. That she'd calm down. That she'd say, come back inside. But she didn't. Instead, she locked the door behind me. And Tyler smiled through the window while I stood there holding a trash bag full of clothes in the rain. That was the last night I saw my family for 4 years. Or at least, that's what I thought. The first month alone was hell. Real hell. Not movie hell. Real hell is pretending you're okay while secretly wondering where you'll sleep. Real hell is crying quietly inside public bathrooms because you don't want strangers staring at you. At first I stayed with friends. But eventually, people get tired of carrying your problems. I don't blame them. Everyone has their own lives. So eventually I started sleeping in my car. A broken-down Honda with one cracked window. I parked behind a 24-hour gym because the lights made me feel safer. Some nights I barely slept at all. Every sound terrified me. Every shadow, every knock, every passing car. I genuinely thought my life was over. And honestly, part of me wanted it to be. Then something happened that changed everything. One afternoon I fainted at work. Just collapsed. When I woke up, a woman was holding a cold towel against my forehead. Her name was Rosa. She worked in the bakery section. Older woman, warm eyes, gentle voice. The kind of person who makes you feel safe instantly. When's the last time you ate? She asked. I lied. Earlier. She stared at me for a second. Then handed me a sandwich. You don't gotta pretend with me, honey. And for some reason, that sentence completely broke me. I started crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Right there in the stockroom. Rosa hugged me while I shook. And that moment changed my life. Because nobody had hugged me since my dad died. Not once. Rosa saved me. Not with money. Not with miracles. With kindness. Sometimes kindness saves people more than anything else. She let me stay in her guest room temporarily. 2 weeks became 3 months. Then 6. But she made one thing very clear. You are not staying broken forever. Every morning she woke me up early. Get moving. She pushed me constantly. Apply for better jobs, finish school, keep going. Especially on the days I wanted to quit. One night she sat across from me at the kitchen table and asked, "What do you actually want, Ava?" Nobody had ever asked me that seriously before. I stared into my coffee for a long time. Then whispered, "I want to matter." Rosa looked me dead in the eyes. "You already do." I cried after she went to bed. Because broken people don't know how to handle kindness. It feels unfamiliar. Almost suspicious. Over the next few years, I rebuilt my life slowly, painfully. I worked 2 jobs. Studied constantly. Barely slept. But something inside me changed. I stopped chasing my mother's approval. And started chasing peace instead. At 21, I got accepted into nursing school. That moment felt unreal. Because just 2 years earlier, I was sleeping in a car wondering if my life was over. But things finally started changing. And here's the craziest part. My family had absolutely no idea. Not once did they call me. Not once did they apologize. Not once did they check if I was alive. At first that destroyed me. Then eventually, it became freeing. Because once you realize nobody's coming to save you, you become dangerous. You stop waiting. And that's exactly what I did. By 23, I became a registered nurse. Then I started traveling for work. The money was incredible. I saved aggressively, invested carefully, worked non-stop. Meanwhile, my social media stayed almost empty. No flashy success posts. No revenge photos. No updates. My family thought I disappeared forever. I let them believe it. Then one night, at exactly 2:14 a.m., my phone rang. And suddenly the past came crashing back into my life. I stared at the screen for almost 30 seconds. Mom. My chest tightened instantly. It's crazy how trauma works. One name can turn you back into a terrified teenager. I almost ignored the call. I should have. But curiosity is dangerous. So I answered. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. And suddenly, my mother started crying. Real crying. Ava. I froze. Because I hadn't heard her voice in 4 years. Then she whispered something I never expected. I need your help. Not I'm sorry. Not how are you? Straight to help. Classic. I stayed silent. Then she whispered. Please. That word shocked me more than anything. My mother never begged. Ever. What happened? I asked quietly. More silence. Then. It's Tyler. The second she said his name, I knew something terrible happened. The golden child had finally fallen. But she still didn't explain everything. Instead she whispered, Can you come home? Home. Funny word. I almost laughed. But something in her voice stopped me. Fear. Real fear. And against my better judgment, I agreed. I had no idea that decision was about to change everything. The drive back felt surreal. Every mile dragged old memories back to the surface. The gas station where Dad bought me hot chocolate. The intersection where Tyler crashed his Mustang. The grocery store where Mom once screamed at me in public. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands were shaking. The house looked smaller somehow. Older. Sad. Then the front door opened. And I almost didn't recognize my mother. She looked exhausted. Thin, pale, broken. The woman who once terrified me, now looked terrified herself. For a few seconds we just stared at each other. Then quietly she said, You look like your father. Same sentence as always. But this time, it didn't sound angry. It sounded shattered. I walked inside slowly. The house felt heavy. Silent. Like something awful already happened. Then I saw Tyler sitting at the kitchen table. And honestly, I barely recognized him either. The arrogant golden child was gone. Dark circles under his eyes. Sweaty hands. Constant shaking. And when he looked at me, I saw fear. Real fear. That scared me more than anger ever could. What happened? I asked. Nobody answered. Then suddenly, bang, bang, bang. 3 hard knocks slammed against the front door. My mother flinched violently. Tyler looked like he might throw up. And that's when I realized. Whatever happened here was worse than I imagined. The knocking came again. Louder. Tyler stood up so fast his chair crashed backward. Don't answer it, he whispered. My stomach tightened. What is going on? And finally, the truth came out. Tyler had developed a gambling addiction. Sports betting, online casinos, crypto scams. Everything. At first he hid it. Then he started borrowing money. Then stealing. Then lying. Sound familiar? Apparently the golden child wasn't so perfect after all. But it got worse. A month earlier, Tyler borrowed money from dangerous people. Very dangerous people. And now he owed over $80,000. I stared at him in disbelief. You're joking. I can fix it, he snapped. Even now he sounded arrogant. Unbelievable. Then my mother grabbed my hand. Ava, we need your help. There it was. The real reason she called. Not love. Not guilt. Money. Again. And somehow, that hurt even more than I expected. Then Tyler leaned forward. We just need a loan. A loan. I almost laughed in his face. This was the same person who smiled while I got thrown into the rain. Now suddenly he needed me. Life is unbelievable sometimes. Then another knock hit the door even harder. And my mother whispered. They know where we live. That's when everything exploded. Tyler panicked. My mother cried. The knocking got louder. Then someone shouted through the door. You got until tomorrow. Silence. Tyler collapsed into a chair breathing hard. And for the first time in my life, I saw consequences finally catching him. No excuses. No protection. No favoritism. Just fear. Raw fear. Part of me enjoyed seeing it. I'm not proud of that. But after years of pain, watching karma arrive felt unreal. Then my mother looked at me and whispered, You're all we have left. No. Absolutely not. I stood immediately. You lost the right to say that 4 years ago. Silence. Tyler scoffed. So you're just gonna let us die? That arrogance. Even now. I looked him dead in the eyes. Did you care if I survived when I was sleeping in my car? That shut him up instantly. My mother started sobbing harder. And suddenly years of pain exploded out of me. You threw me away over a lie. My voice cracked. I begged you to believe me. She covered her mouth crying. But I wasn't done. I was homeless, Mom. That sentence hit the room like a bomb. Because until that moment, she never knew. Or maybe never cared enough to ask. You never even looked for me. Tyler stared at the floor. My mother looked destroyed. Good. For once. I needed them to feel even a fraction of what I felt. Then my mother whispered. I didn't know. I laughed bitterly. You didn't want to know. And deep down, she knew I was right. Then came the moment that changed everything forever. Tyler finally admitted the truth. He planted the bracelet. Just like I always knew. My mother looked at him in horror. You said she stole it. Tyler couldn't even look at her. I was scared. My mother started shaking violently. No. Over and over again. No, no, no. Then she looked at me. And I watched guilt completely destroy her in real time. I threw you away, she whispered. Yes. You did. But hearing her finally admit it didn't heal me the way I imagined. It just made me tired. So unbelievably tired. Then Tyler asked the one thing that made the room go cold. So are you helping us or not? There it was again. Money. Always money. I stared at him for a long moment. Then reached into my bag slowly. Tyler looked hopeful instantly. So did my mother. And for one dangerous second, I almost gave in. Because despite everything, they were still my family. But then I remembered the rain. The locked door. The smile on Tyler's face while I stood outside crying. And suddenly, I knew exactly what to do. I pulled out a business card. A rehab center. And placed it on the table. The only help I'm giving you. Tyler exploded instantly. You have money. And you had compassion once. Guess we both lost things. Silence. Heavy silence. Then I handed my mother $5,000. Not for Tyler. For groceries, bills, security cameras. And for the first time in our lives, my mother slapped him instead of me. Hard. You destroyed this family, she screamed. And suddenly the golden child wasn't golden anymore. Just broken. Like everyone else. I left 30 minutes later. My mother followed me outside. Cold air. Silent street. And finally, she whispered the words I waited years to hear. I'm sorry. Not dramatic. Not fake. Just broken. I should have protected you. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to hug her. Trauma is complicated like that. Then she whispered, I thought losing your father broke me, but I let it turn me into someone cruel. And honestly, that line stayed with me. Because pain doesn't automatically make people kinder. Sometimes it makes them crueler. Then she asked quietly, "Can you ever forgive me?" And honestly, I still don't fully know. But I told her the truth. Maybe someday. She nodded slowly. Then before I got into my car, she whispered something that healed a tiny part of me. "I'm proud of you, Ava." For simple words. And somehow, they mattered more than I wanted them to. I drove away crying harder than I expected. Not because everything was fixed. It wasn't. But because for the first time in my life, my mother finally saw me. Really saw me. And maybe that was enough to finally let the past go.